Growing your own tomatoes is as popular an American pastime as baseball is. I'm going to show you 2 unconventional, space-saving methods of growing your own tomatoes to get you away from the vegetable garden and out of the raised bed. I'm sure you've heard of growing your tomatoes upside down. Well, you can make your own hanging basket with a cocoa liner in it. Got a tomato plant ready to go in, got some organic potting soil, and we're gonna plant some marigolds and also some basil along the top of this hanging basket. You wanna make sure that your hanging container has a hole along the bottom. Got my scissors and I'm gonna cut a hole just big enough for the tomato plant to get through. That looks like it's big enough. Got my tomato plant here, and of course it's an heirloom tomato. I love growing heirloom tomatoes. They're so much tastier than those hybrid tomatoes out there. This is a vining tomato plant, so it's gonna grow to be pretty big. But when you're growing vegetables in containers, the plants tend to be a lot smaller than if they're in the ground. So you just wanna gently guide the tomato plant through the hole you've made. The tomato plant is in. I'm gonna pop this back through our hanging container here. I wanna hold the tomato plant up a little bit as we're filling it with soil because I want some more roots to grow along the stem. So I'm gonna make a little pillow with the soil underneath the root ball. That's gonna sit on that. So I've got the little pillow of soil underneath my tomato plant. Look at it, it looks beautiful coming through the hanging container. Now, all I have to do is fill the rest up with soil. I'm using a 14-inch hanging basket. They, of course, come larger and smaller, but 14-inch I think is the perfect size. When you're filling your hanging basket with soil, make sure that you fill it all the way to the top. This is very dry soil right now, so once I water it, it's gonna compact down, and we're gonna be planting some basil and marigolds, and the basil is gonna grow great with these awesome tomatoes that we're growing. This is a globe basil. I'm gonna make a little space for it right here. The basil that I've planted here and also the marigolds that I'm gonna plant help to ward off any pests or diseases. At least that's my experience with companion planting tomatoes with fragrant herbs and also marigolds. So now I'm gonna get these marigolds in here. I'm evenly spacing them along the top of this container and I'm placing them around the rim. Remember, our tomato plant is planted right in the middle here, so I'm avoiding that. You're gonna wanna water this container regularly, almost every other day. Tomatoes tend to dry out a lot more quickly in containers than when they're planted in the ground. You also need to fertilize using a liquid organic fertilizer about once a week. That's gonna bring the nutrients that your plant needs to grow those juicy tomatoes. A beautiful container for growing your tomatoes upside down. Next, I'm gonna show you another unconventional yet space-saving way to grow tomatoes. You probably have never heard of a Japanese tomato ring. It was inspired by space-saving techniques, where you use a compost bin to grow your tomatoes. Using these methods, you can get a lot of tasty tomatoes in a small space. Place your Japanese tomato ring in a sunny area that gets at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day. I'm using a simple compost bin made out of hardware cloth. You might have this one at home or another kind. All you need to do is fill it with leaves and grass clippings, kitchen scraps, then plant 4 tomato plants around in a ring. As it grows, train it to grow through the mesh or attach it with some jute or some horticultural tape. Don't forget to keep adding more compost. You're gonna wanna water your Japanese tomato ring a little bit differently. We're gonna water the compost, and we're gonna water it regularly and thoroughly. As you water your compost bin, your roots are going to be able to access all of the nutrients and all of the water to give you tasty tomatoes.